Baseball, not always the best team wins, right? You got to still go out there and get it done.
Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast Baseball Talk. Glad you're with us. As always, powered by Game 7 Baseball, game7baseball.com. Look, man, there's snow on the ground right now. That's why we call it the Winter Workout Tour, because it's winter. And so we have to go to these places and talk to people and talk baseball so we feel warm. That's what we want. And when you talk about baseball, I'm a warm weather kind of guy. I will be on the golf course or on the baseball diamond. That's my thing. So, hey, come join us at the ballpark when we're out with Game 7 Baseball. Saturdays at the park, we have a lot of fun. The 14U Super 7, we're still pushing to get more teams in that. We've got the invitations out. Please come see us. We'd love to hang out with you, talk baseball. It's a great event. We also have our Super 7 series out there. Come hang out with us. Game7baseball.com. Register your team. We're looking forward to it. Also, if you want to follow us on our socials, we are on X at YBM_cast and IG, Facebook, and TikTok at Youth Baseball Midwest. Please give us a follow. Comment, like, share stuff. We appreciate it very much. On the show today, we have, as always, it's getting there. I'm loving this. Head coach over at Principia, Senior Director, as he's rocking the R today, RBC. Coach Dave Wiggins. Coach, thanks for joining us, buddy.
Yep, happy to be on as always.
Absolutely. I loved your conversation yesterday. That'll come out. We recorded it yesterday. It's coming out on Friday. You don't want to miss it on Baseball 101. He had Cole DuPont, Lafayette head coach. It's a really fun conversation. So make sure you're checking that out this Friday on Baseball 101, hosted by the man right here, Dave Wiggins. Folks, on our Prime Sports call link, he's calling in here. Prime Sports, great folks over there. Rick Ben's running that. Crystal Tucci taking care of things over at Fenton. Go check them out over at Chesterfield. I don't think the St. Peter's location is quite back up and running, but you can also order online. Prime Sports Midwest, the official gear provider of Youth Baseball Midwest. We appreciate them. Look, become a YBM Club member. You get 10% off your purchases in the stores. Please support YBM Club, support YBM Youth Baseball. We're going to be traveling. We are putting together a monster schedule for our live streams, and it doesn't happen without our sponsors. We got some great sponsors for our live streams, but also what we're doing in our winter workout tour. You as a YBM Club member, you get the benefits of that with our exclusive contents, from our player spotlights to our coaches previews. We appreciate you. Join today. Become a legacy member. Get 50% off for the whole year. We appreciate it greatly. All right. Got all that. Yes.
I just want to say that we as a baseball club here at RBC, we use Prime Sports for all of our uniform needs, all of our apparel needs. We've been through many uniform companies in the past, and Prime Sports, bar none, is the best one we've dealt with. Our rep, Jeffrey Jersinovich, is fantastic. Crystal Tucci is amazing in Fenton. The Benz family's been nothing but just awesome for us. So if you're out there and even if you're not in a club, you're just looking for nice apparel or some good baseball stuff, Prime Sports is absolutely the place to go.
I love it. Thanks, Dave. I love that. That was not prompted. I didn't ask Dave to do that before we started.
I had to raise my hand.
Yes, you did. And I think it's a cool thing there because they're Fenton. I know it's the champions. You can go and demo a bat. I mean, put the glove on, feel it. I think sometimes me personally, but I'm an old guy. One of the things I hate doing is ordering shoes online. People order shoes online. doesn't work for me. I don't know. It just doesn't. I'm not that guy. But no, Prime Sports, we appreciate all they do for Youth Baseball Midwest and their partnership with us. So thanks, Dave. Appreciate the endorsement there. That's cool. Uh,
Absolutely.
Today we're going to talk some baseball. We're going to start with over the weekend. I got to interview some really cool people, some really high level individuals and baseball coaches from the inductions. They didn't get to do it because of the weather. They moved it to March 8th. All the coaches I know, if you get a chance, I hope it doesn't diminish the numbers. Everybody go out and support to the banquet back in Lake of the Ozarks on March 8th. They had to reschedule the banquet dinner and induction ceremony for these guys. I hope everybody gets back out because the Hall of Fame, uh, you're a high school coach, Dave. You've been doing it for a while now. You've been to a Final Four with Webster Groves. You've jumped both feet into this project with Principia. Um, do you? I don't think anybody really thinks about the Hall of Fame, do they? As a coach,
Not really. I think that it's just one of those things where after the fact, if you've done a great job, if you've wins and losses are one thing, but it's more about being able to build programs, establish culture and programs, earn the respect of not just the people in your community or your town, but just the baseball community in general. And that respect's got to be earned. You've got to give those veteran and those Hall of Fame coaches, the utmost respect, and just treat them with the respect that they've been there longer, that they've been doing it longer, that they're where they are for a reason. And as younger coaches, I think we step in and we want to change programs. We want to put our mark on programs. Um, these older veteran coaches, I think they're literally just trying to keep with what they've been doing. They're trying to, they built it. Now they're
yeah.
just trying to maintain it. And it's so impressive what they're able to do. And yeah, cool. Maybe one day that could be me, but I really don't think about it, to be honest. I kind of live in the now. And especially with my new project, I'm really living in the now. So
And I think that's the truth, the truth of it. And if and having these conversations, talking to these coaches, they weren't thinking about it then. They were just thinking about, what can I do to be successful? How do I get this program going? And I think that was one of the interesting things with Coach DuPont as a new coach, his, learning the education year one to year two, moving through that stuff. I think that's fascinating because it's never really, I think, quite what we've made up in our own mind about how it's going to go, right?
yeah, without question. Uh, Joel Credo, another new head coach. He's been doing it, but he's doing it somewhere much bigger now. He uses the line, you're never as good as you think you are. And when you
Right.
realize that, there's real room for growth there. And that's just a good key point to remember as a coach at any level. Um,
Yeah.
just remember that there's always someone out there who's better than you at certain things, and maybe at everything. And all you can do is learn from them.
I I love this conversation because it always brings me back to this, and these are things I believe in very much. I believe in winning, and um, I know that kind of people go, oh man, well, and honestly, as a competitor, I don't think there's anybody that, and I'm the type of person, there's statements made you see in movies and whatnot. I hate losing more than I love winning, and that probably fits me pretty good. I've always kind of been that way, but you learn things, you understand what winning is, and I don't think people understand it because we always look at results, and when you hear people talk and when you look at things and what you're dealing with, results are um, you can't control that. You really can't, especially in the game of baseball when there's so many variables and so many things sport, I think, is just that difficulty that way. And you were talking about building culture and how you understand developing relationships and things of that nature. Winning is not necessary. Yeah, it is the result at the end, but how do you get that? How do you get the opportunity? And that's the word I like to use when you talk about winning. All you can do is build the culture, build the attitudes, develop the relationships within the community that you have to bring you an opportunity, because winning is built in the practice, on the practice diamond, in the practice room with the coaches, the philosophy and those types of things, and developing the mindset where everybody understands who they are, what they are, and where they're going, and how we got to get there. Because you may have the opportunity, but the other team does one more thing that beats you. And that happens in the game of baseball, right?
Yeah, without question. It's interesting you bring that up because at Principia, our athletics programs, we use a win-win mantra. And it's win on the scoreboard, but it's also win in just being a good person, win in teaching these kids how to be model citizens, win in the classroom. We can win in many different ways than just by winning baseball, basketball, football games, whatever. And in
Mhm.
highly competitive environments like varsity sports, sometimes we can get caught up in the winning on the scoreboard, and we tend to just kind of push off the more important part, in my opinion, which is we've got to grow young men and grow young women, and we're important in their lives, some of us more than others, and we just have to remember that sometimes winning their hearts, winning their giving them a great experience, giving them something that they look forward to, after they take that math test, giving them seriously, some kids might not want to go home. Some kids might want to stay at school because they're so excited to go practice whatever sport it is or go play that other sport. And just remembering that their kids, they have a lot on their plates, and maybe to them the scoreboard isn't as important as it is to us. And we just have to
Right.
remember that. Like we're coming across many different types of athletes, that play varsity sports. Some are going to
Mm.
play at the collegiate level. Some are going to play their final games as high school juniors or seniors. And it's important to remember that we want them to enjoy their time in our programs. And if we can teach them to be respectful, if we can teach them to win with class and lose with class, then we're winning. And
Yeah.
that to any high school coach who truly looks deep down, that's more important to us than a state championship. It really is.
I think when you talk about, developing culture, a winning culture, it's a matter of how do you prepare yourself? How do you prepare yourself, and where's your mind? How do you focus your mind? How do you focus your body? And in both of these aspects, you're dealing with a situation, especially a 16, 15, 16, 17-year-old kid who, how do they even understand the language you're using? What is culture? How do you build that? What are you saying to me that, "Oh, yeah, I can go out and play, man. You don't have no." And then they get into the workplace. They're into college, or they're into the technical school, or they go right into the workforce. What prepares them mentally to understand what it means to work towards a competitive situation, a winning? How am I successful in my job, in my um oh geez, what's the word, vocation,
Yeah.
or in my career, what I've my chosen path in those respects. And in every situation, you're going to deal with things with adversity. And how do you prepare yourself for that? And how do you work through adversity to get to a place where you have an opportunity for the result you're looking for? And I think this is the cultural context. When you see Hall of Fame coaches, you see a similar pattern within all of these people.
Yeah, that's why a lot of firms and companies hire athletes. They recruit athletes. It's because they want individuals that have had to face adversity, that have had to overcome adversity, that thrive in a competition environment. Um, it's it's proven that those people tend to do better in the workforce because they've been up against it before. And newsflash to all you high school kids, life is way harder than high school. Uh, being an adult, you face way more adversity than you'll ever face. Getting broken up with by a girl is one thing in high school, but there's farther, way we go way deeper when we become adults when it comes to overcoming obstacles. So
And the second caveat to this is now we all understand that you have to have a certain amount of talent to hit certain places of success. It's just the reality of things.
right.
But there's a lot of coaches out there, and as you're talking here, you're moving into a situation where, and I think you're kind of seeing this. I've had this conversation, great conversation with the head coach over at O'Fallon Township a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
Dave Causey. He was at a small school. It's where he started. I think they were Class 1, and he told me he had 9 guys the 1 year, nine bodies. And he said the ninth guy we had to talk him into coming out.
And he said that was after winning.
Yes. They won the regional, right? Or yeah. I mean, Dave, you're having success. See, that doesn't always translate, and is talent isn't always what you have. So you have to work with kids, and it becomes a matter of how are you developing the relationships with these kids so they trust that what you're telling them will work. And I think that's a huge piece of it, right?
It's massive. You've got to get them to trust you. You have to get them to buy into what you are telling them, what you're teaching them is what's best for them to be successful, not just in baseball, but in life, right? Putting them in adverse situations in practice. And when they fail and they get upset, reminding them that, hey, I set you up to fail here on purpose to see how you would respond to it. Everyone says don't set anybody up to fail. I think it's super important that we set our kids up to fail in certain aspects just so they can feel that failure. And they a lot of times I'll run into certain kids will fail at something that they've never practiced or they've never tried, and they get upset. And then I look at them and I ask them, have you ever worked to be good at this? And they say, well, no. Like, then why do you expect to be good at it? It's
Right.
unbelievable to me, right? But that's how we're wired as humans, and especially some people than more than others. If we just expect to be good right away, and in baseball, a skilled sport where you can take one of the best athletes in the country who plays basketball and football, and you put a bat in their hands, and it looks like they've never swung it before. It is so much more difficult to be good at baseball if you've never practiced it, or to be good at pitching if you've never been on a mound, or to be good at bunting if you've never tried to bunt. And it's little things like that where the normal casual person can watch and say, I could do that. That's easy. Look at that. Look at that fat pitcher on Ole Miss. Like, if you're fat, you could play baseball. That's easy. But it's the skill acquisition is so much more important. And it's funny, like we talk about that because Nathan and I on the Baseball 101 talked about, more athletic, faster, more physical. Usually those are the better players, right? But you still have to have the skill of being able to play the game. And we have that conversation, showcase versus the game. There's some kids that really stand out at a showcase, but you put them in a game, the speed of the game is too fast. The different nuances that you got to play baseball. And I'm excited to talk about these kids that we're going to talk about today because they're baseball players. Like they can flat out play the game, and that's exciting.
High IQ kids, right?
Yes.
And I don't think we talk about that enough. Yes, having ability, athleticism, skill level. Yep, absolutely. But unless you can apply the information, the knowledge to your skill level, that's why I always start with, I believe, mental focus. What is mental focus? People don't realize what that actually, I think, entails. It's a lot deeper than just going, okay, right? But because it determines your physical focus. And what I mean by physical focus is bringing out the maximum potential of your athleticism and your ability. And because the body follows the mind, period.
Right.
Your arm just doesn't act on its own. It just doesn't. And so you have to be able to bring those things understanding. And we talk about I don't think we talk about the IQ, the baseball IQ, enough in that respect, Dave.
We don't. And the mental part, like I love Coach Beckman talks about how he literally has his guys to start practice lay anywhere on the turf and just relax for 15 minutes, shut off mentally, forget about what was going on at school, forget about what's ahead, like just clear the mind completely and just almost have a hard reset before practice starts. Yeah, there's individuals that are paid a lot of money to help enhance the mental part of baseball. And
Mm.
we as coaches, we want to harp on, we got to have a better mental game, or he's just not in it, his head's not in it. It's like, how often do we practice that though? We practice the skill part. We practice the game playing part. If we want to be critical of our kids' mentalities, we need to practice it. It's like we want everybody to compete, compete, compete. Well, if you don't practice competing in practice, how are you going to compete in a game? You know, um, Toughness. We want our kids to be tough. Everybody wants tough players. Oh, he's a tough player. What does that actually mean? Like how do you how do you how do you create toughness in a kid? Everyone's wired differently,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there's
Yeah.
other ways to do it, but I think we as coaches can better our players, our programs, and ourselves, especially if we want to develop tougher, more savvy, more mentally strong athletes, and focus on those things in practice and not just roll the balls out and play baseball, but well, let's dive a little bit deeper. And I think there's a lot of coaches in our area, especially that are starting to do that, that are starting to see the value in that. And yes, our athletes are bigger, better, stronger, faster. They throw harder, they hit harder, they run faster. But we're starting to see smarter baseball players as well come through. We're starting to see underclassmen who can succeed at the varsity level because they have a high baseball IQ. And I don't think we saw that. I think we saw it earlier in the 80s, 90s when you had to be a smarter player, better, stronger, faster wasn't necessarily a thing. But then as we got into, when I was playing and even a few years later, I don't think the importance on understanding and knowing the game at such a high level was as prevalent as it's starting to become. And it's
Mhm.
because the game's getting so much harder. Uh,
Mhm. Yeah.
Can can you hit a 95-mile-an-hour fastball? Sure, you see it off the machine all the time, right? But
With
don't
not just
sorry.
95 miles an hour. I'm sorry, real quick, but I want to add this, but with spin.
Well, that's the thing. Can you go into that at bat understanding, oh man, I might get three sliders instead of a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, right?
Yeah.
And that's how the game's changing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Is you see power arms that are relying on their off speed because they know these good hitters can hit the fastball.
And these power arms, they're throwing that 95-mile-an-hour fastball and it's got movement. It's got run.
Oh yeah,
It moves away. It did, a good, can you get it to sink?
right.
And you get a 95-mile-an-hour fastball that just runs away from you. Good luck, you know. Why
Absolutely.
did I swing at that? Well, because that's what I had to try and do to catch up with it. And you look at those things and that it really is difficult. And yes, and these are players we've highlighted our player spotlights. We've done this now for the last. We started. It's been a while since like 21. We started talking to the players and reaching out to these kids. And I look at different aspects and we reach out to a lot of kids. Some kids respectfully, say, yeah, I appreciate it, but no thank you. And but we get a lot of kids that like, yeah, we got some coming up. um we're going to be talking with Cole Milliken out of Lebanon, who's headed
Oh
to
yeah.
Mizzou. Looking
Most
for
state.
Mo State. That's right. Sorry. Um, it's the other kid there that's going to Missoula. I mixed that one up. Um,
Oh, the shortstop, York, Beckett York.
yes,
Hmm.
yes. And then you have, and we're going to be talking with Troy Fisher out of Liberty North. Dynamic. I really enjoy these because then you get a look. They're going in there. These are seniors, going into their final season. It gives you a chance to look at that, their high school career, their next step. The processes in which they go through those things. It, you get a kind of a chance to see these kids as people, as who they are, the people, and that to me is more, that's the fun part of it, getting to know them a little bit, Dave.
Absolutely. I mean, for the most part, they're all really good kids, right?
Yeah.
They're probably super popular at school. It's probably really easy to get a big ego, and just this the humility that I've seen from a lot of these boys, knowing a lot of them, they work hard, right? And they know they work hard. Um, but just seeing how they respect their teammates, how they respect um, the worst player on the team versus the best player on the team, how they treat them no differently. That goes a long way, and it takes a high character individual to make it through college baseball and eventually into pro ball. And we know that because coaches are asking us how who is this kid? Sure, he can hit, he can field, he can throw. Who is he? Am I going to like being around him? Is he going to
Right.
be a good teammate? Is he going to come through for me in a pinch? What the intangibles that might not show up on a ball diamond.
I, I'm trying to get to a point here, and I think there it is. My computer went. Hate it when that happens. There it is. There it is. Well, our first player spotlight, and we talk a lot about we've been talking about the GAC for quite some time, as the first conference we really started following. It's one I knew about. My son played in the GAC Central with Fort Some Maltese, so familiar with it. And it's always been kind of one of those things. I think a very good conference. And we talked with three young men that have played for you for quite some time. And looking back at this conversation, and if you want to watch, join the club, get in there, go check these kids out. It's great conversation. I really enjoyed it. The the first kid I want to talk about though is Brady Tanner, because when you look at Brady, you don't look at him and go, well, he's just this physical specimen. Yeah, he's not that. Don't get me wrong. The kid he's pretty well put together. He's athletic and whatnot, but he isn't 6'2", 200 pounds, right? And you kind of look at him, like, okay, yeah, nothing, what's special? But then you watch him play, and I think that's where the things turn for a Brady Tanner and a young man that I think you have to look at it from this perspective, Dave, because he's going to be asked to lead that team. And you're at Francis Howell. This is storied as far as high school baseball. I know people, they go, oh, tired of hearing about France, but it's just the reality of it. It's like talking about the Yankees or the Dodgers or even the Cardinals. Cardinals are the one of the winningest organizations in Major League Baseball. They're just really that good. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that go, I don't want to hear about the Cardinals, right? Especially Cubs fans.
Tell you right now, less people want to hear about the Dodgers, but that's for another day.
That's true. But when you look at this, that that get a bit overwhelming for a young man. This is Francis Howell. You're kind of that guy. How are you taking the leadership role on that team? And that does take a lot up here.
Yeah, thankfully he's got a compadre in AJ Jones. They're both seniors who both hit a top of the order last year. AJ is vocal, right? AJ's a high energy vocal player. So much fun to watch. Um, Brady can be vocal at times. Brady's a little more reserved than AJ. But when you talk leadership, if you have those two, kind of filling that Humbert, um, Vaughn, even Skidmore role. Dylan Curtis is an absolute gangster, right? He's fantastic. He doesn't talk a whole lot. He leads by example, right? I feel like Jake Brettschneider, just another dynamic right-hander. Like he's more of that reserve type as well, where you're really going to need Brady and AJ to kind of be the vocal piece there. Um, Thankfully, Brady learned from Titus Sissel, which he had a great role model. He got to play middle infield with Titus his sophomore year, and that really, really helped him. Um, I've had conversations with him about it. It really helped him gain confidence when he was a junior last year to even be one of those vocal leaders because he had a year of varsity under his belt. And yeah, I know he's excited to be a senior. And yeah, when these kids become seniors, they almost gain an edge. I'm you see a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, especially from someone like Brady, who's at one of the winningest high schools, in Missouri, and has yet to hoist that, state championship. I guarantee every year they go into it, and Coach Perkins is like, "State or bust, boys." That's who we are. He may not say it like that, but they're thinking it. Reminds me of what is it, Friday Night Lights, where Billy Bob's is like, "We will win state. We will win state," and it's kind of you figure that's how it's going to be there. Um,
It's
but
true, man.
it is, and I mean, goodness, they're just so talented, and to get to hit a top of a talented order like that and set the table, there's just so much the kid can do. The high IQ allows him. If Brady wanted to hit 450 every year in high school and slap singles all over the field, he could do it with his hands tied behind his back. But Brady understands that in order to play Division I baseball, we've got to elevate the baseball. We got to shoot gaps. We got to show extra base power. So I think he sacrifices a tad bit of average there to hit more doubles and triples and eventually home runs. But having the weapon where he can drop a bunt down, Coach P gives him the signal to drop that bunt down. He can get it down the first baseline, he can get down the third baseline. It's almost always a bunt for a hit because he's a sub 6'8" runner. He's a Swiss Army knife. He can literally do it all on offense. And I'm excited to see a little bit more power coming from him this year. He's been really working on elevating the ball with backspin to the pull side with Nate Orff. Nate's done a fantastic job with him. Um, and I saw Brady the other day. We did some defensive stuff. He's getting bigger. He's getting stronger. He sent me a video of him. I think he was throwing up 455 on squat. I mean, he's turning into a more of a physical player because he wants to get on the field at Indiana State. He wants to get on the field against the 23 and 24-year-olds he's going to be competing against in the fall. But obviously, Indiana State saw an elite baseball player just with an unreal ability to play at the highest level possible, and knowing that they have someone who, if they put some size and physicality, into him, which they'll be able to, he could be one of the better hitters in the Missouri Valley Conference for sure.
One of the things that was impressive to me about Brady is last year he did not start the season well.
No,
Struggling. He, I think, first 2 weeks, I mean, he just wasn't hitting at all. And I don't know, I hadn't talked to him. This is just me seeing from the outside. But one thing I could, just from looking at what happened, and he ended up hitting folks over 400 for the season. Okay. And I think he was hitting like a buck something after the first 2 weeks and whatnot. Uh, but, and he got with the people that could help him, kept working. You talk about, we were alluding to mental toughness.
yes,
Okay. And this is what mental toughness is. You're failing. Don't go sit in a corner. Go work.
go work.
Go work. I am this person. We're talking about these things, and I hear people say, "Man, I'm trying." If you hear somebody saying they're trying, get away. because I'm trying, that is the lament of the failed.
Yep.
If you've got somebody who wants to work, you may not see the full potential of success there, but you got, and to have the mentality to go overcome, and even though you're failing, you're not succeeding how you want to, but to go and continue to work and the results start to come. That's to me, when you start talking about mental toughness, Dave.
Credit to coaches Peel and Felt. I had many conversations with Brady while he was struggling, and just the hours that Felt and Peel put into him, and the extra work that he put in. Having coaches available who know his swing, who can help him and get him back on track. He's a hitter that if he goes into a slump, he's going to break out any time, and he could go 10 for his next 10. I've seen it happen. And you go 8 for 10 in high school, your average is probably going to jump 200 points right there. And that's the beauty of having the bunt base hit tool, where maybe we can steal a couple hits when we're not seeing the ball as well.
Yeah.
But he went into last year after having a great sophomore campaign, and he wanted to hit for more power. And I think initially that's hard to do, especially when you're facing the arms they're facing right out of the gate. And when you're trying to elevate the ball a little bit more, you're going to swing and miss more. You're going to miss hit balls more. And Brady's someone who takes pride in being on the barrel and hitting balls hard up the middle. And when you get away from that a little bit to elevate, the average is going to dip, right? And I think he needed to understand and realize you can still be Brady Tanner without slapping the baseball. You can
Right.
still hit for high average without selling out for line drive power. And I think we're all going to see that this spring. I mean, he had 8 doubles last year, 1 triple. I see double digit. I see 12 to 14 doubles for him this year, especially with his speed and his ability to put the bat on the ball. But I mean, Brian, dude, the kid has 87 hits in 2 years of varsity competition. 87 hits. Come on. I mean, it's absolutely insane. The 100 hit mark is a big thing for hitters to get. But it takes a lot of those guys 4 years to do it. Brady might
Right.
do it in the first 2 weeks of his third varsity year.
Man.
So the bat to ball skills just jump off the charts.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I thought was impressive was from 2024 to 2025, he lowered his strikeout numbers, driving in runs. His walks were the same. Everything he did is the consistency in what he did, but striking out less. That's hard to do. That shows you're understanding what pitchers are trying to do to you. It's growing your ability to be at the plate and understand an approach. And
Well, and to go along with that, he's got a fantastic eye, and that can be a detriment to high school hitters with strike zones the way they are. And he'll often find himself in 2-strike counts, and I've been hammering on him, dude, swing early, hunt the fastball early, be aggressive early. A lot of coaches think a good 2-strike approach can eliminate strikeouts. I believe that swinging early or not getting to 2 strikes can eliminate strikeouts. And I did see him be more aggressive last spring than I'd seen him be in the past. And I think that's what helped cut his rate down.
yeah, the other kid on this hitting side, and I'll say it openly, I believe this, and I haven't seen everybody, so, but just in recent last couple of years, it's the best hitter I've seen, and I think he's maybe possibly the best hitter in the state currently, and that's Nolan Sissom. I've talked to a lot of kids that hit well and whatnot, but watching Nolan Sissom at the plate is watching. You see, it's like I've seen major league players, college players. That's what you see in this kid. I saw it as a freshman. You kind of watched him, and it was like, wow, wait a minute, what did I just see there? As a freshman, he put up, in 2023, 96 ABs. He was starting 30 runs, 33 hits, 6 doubles, a triple. 26 RBIs, 28 base on balls, and only struck out 6 times. As a freshman playing varsity baseball, only struck out 6 times. I don't care who you are, man. That's impressive. Oh my goodness.
Coach Goff wanted him to get on base his freshman year. He let off, he hit 3-hole, and the goal was get on base. You're a young pup, you don't have the pop yet, consistently enough, get on base. And he wore that as a badge of honor. He had a over 500 on base percentage his freshman year. Is still managed to pump out 33 hits. But yeah, 28 walks that's legit, and that's before teams started intentionally walking him because he was only a freshman, right? But I remember watching on the YBM cast when they played Blue Springs South. The young man for Blue Springs, I believe he went to Cincinnati out of high school.
Tommy
Big,
Lepore.
yes, my gosh, monster dude's chucking 92, 94, and knows he's up there, and he's taking the most professional at bat I've seen. A 15-year-old kid facing 94, and he hits a hard ground ball to the right side, grounds out. It's like, how are you early on that? It's
Right.
just it's impressive. It really is, and then he can sit back on a changeup away or a breaking ball, even though he's geared up to hit 92, 93. Um, yeah, he was special as a freshman. It takes a special kid to play fresh as a freshman at the varsity level, especially at Zumwalt West, especially in that conference, and succeed.
Yeah.
Um, I had the pleasure of getting to coach him from the time he was 14. And we played a ridiculously hard 14U schedule. We swung BB cores, 14-year-olds, even though some teams swing -5s against us. We just held ourselves to a little higher standard. And he was facing Bo Peterson, and Bo's headed to Texas. Bo's from Kansas. Bo was 87-90 as a 14-year-old, throwing a
Mm.
wicked slider. And we're in Kansas City, and Nosey takes him backside off the left field wall. And my eyes were just massive, like, who is this kid? Like, this is insane. Like, we should be no hit right now because we're facing a 14-year-old giant throwing 90 with a slider, and it's he's just he's so
He's not daunted at all by any of that.
no, he's so professional in his approach, and he is so hard on himself. Um, and it's why he's so good. I mean, his dad's done an outstanding job. Name me a kid who's literally never really had a hitting coach. Up until he started hitting with Nate last year,
Mm-hmm.
Matt was no one's hitting coach. Cool. Bryce Harper had his dad or has his dad, right? Like Nolan and Matt would just hit, hit, hit. And for Nolan to be that complete of a hitter and not, being the typical go see 40 different hitting coaches, that to me is impressive. And that speaks volumes about his dad and what he's been able to do, keeping him as locked in as he has and understanding that hitting's hitting. Hitting isn't lighting up radar guns with exit velocities off the tee. Hitting isn't hitting balls 400 feet on track, man. Hitting is doing it at the highest level. If you can hit 95, I'd rather you be able to hit 95 than hit a 95 exit velo. And Nolan bought into that philosophy um, as early as I can remember. Um, but if you look at 2025, the power started to show.
Yes. And that's true. And right, he got a little bigger, got stronger. He started developing that process. And just from last year, I haven't seen a young man be able to process an at bat in a post game interview with me like he did. I've interviewed a lot of high school baseball players and had good interviews and kids that talk at a very high level. But how he processes an at bat and understands what pitchers are trying to do, especially a pitcher that he's seen before, and understands what's going on in a situation, that's another level of thought process for a hitter. And there's there's still a lot of see ball hit ball And that's basic. That's true though. You still have to be able to see the ball, hit the ball. But then when we started talking about, you're seeing kids with, upper 80 fastballs with great spin, uh, dropping hammers on you, change ups, keeping you off balance. You have to kind of understand how a pitcher's trying to get you out and be able to hunt the pitch you want and be able to make it happen when you see it. It's so unbelievably hard to do. And that's why baseball is, especially hitting in baseball, is the hardest thing to do in sport. I still believe that very much.
Absolutely. I mean, just look at the walk totals every year: 28, 32, 27. He's not swinging outside of the strike zone.
Mm-mm.
A lot of these strikeouts are called strikeouts, probably off the plate a little bit. Um, he he's not going to give in and swing at a pitch he doesn't believe he can barrel. And in high school, sometimes that's a detriment because there's a lot of pitches that we can't barrel that are called strikes. When he goes to the SEC, those zones are going to shrink. He's going to be in a obviously the pitching is going to be significantly tougher, but he's going to be in a setting and environment where he can swing at pitches that are in the strike zone that he's looking for. And I think he's going to love that part of it. Um, but if we had strike zones the size of SEC strike zones in high school, we'd play 4-hour games, and no one wants that. No one wants that. I respect the bigger zone. I get it. I understand. Um,
Only to a point, and then I'm like, guys, we
yeah,
need to
let's
be a little better, little
right.
better, little better. But I'm with you. I understand, and not every pitcher's the same in high school baseball. It's what it is. We
Yeah.
understand that.
Let's
And
let's also not forget. I'm sorry, you go ahead.
no, go ahead, buddy.
I was gonna say let's not forget what he brings to the defensive side of the baseball. He's been the starting shortstop since his freshman year. I think he made one error his freshman year as a throwing error. He made a couple of sophomore and junior year. Um, but he's just so sound fundamentally on the infield. And Fort Zumwalt West is not turf. It is an all dirt infield. It's probably one of the tougher infields to play, and he plays it beautifully. He's also one of the best catchers I've ever seen, and he rarely does it. But he's got an opportunity, at the collegiate and even pro level, to get behind the dish at some point. And you're talking about a sweet swinging lefty, who can get behind the plate and give you a hell of an effort back there too. Um, that's where the lack of size, speed, physicality, being an SEC shortstop, maybe he's a catcher, maybe he's a second baseman, right? Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe he's a left fielder. I don't know. If the bat plays, they're going to find a spot for you. And
Yeah.
that's something where he's going to be very versatile. I mean, Missouri has already called him a super utility player. That's a huge compliment. That's not he can't play shortstop for us. No, he could play short, third, second, left, catcher. He'll get on the mound. He'll throw mid-80s on the bump, throw strikes. I mean, the kid. There's nothing he can't do. And when he puts on a Fort Zumwalt West Jaguars uniform, he will not let you beat him. He's worn an RBC uniform for years. He's been outstanding for me as an RBC player. He's better in the spring. When he's got a Jags uniform on, you ain't going to beat him. He's just not going to let it happen. The pride that he takes in being a Fort Zumwalt West Jaguar, um, it's really cool to see.
Brendan Pyle, of these three, really has transitioned. I always thought of him more as a hitter, fielder, and things like that. But especially last year, and I think that's where he's gonna. I think that's where he's going. He's transitioned. He had his best season as a pitcher last year, 9-1. And I want folks make sure Dave went through a lot here to put together these stats. And 9-1 in 49 and 2/3 innings, a 2.26 ERA, 56 Ks. And it'll be interesting to see how much better he is this year. And I think that's the development process with he's just kind of, I think, scratching the surface, because I don't think he put a lot of work he did it, but it wasn't what he did. Does that make sense?
Without question. I mean, since he was 10, 11 years old, he's been known as one of the area's most prolific hitters. He won the PG Select Fest Home Run Derby when he was 12 down in Georgia. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's not something anybody in Missouri can say. um, elite juice from a young age, strong, physically developed, always threw hard, but was more of a thrower, just pitching
Yep.
because when you're 13 and you throw 82, like, yeah, we're gonna throw you on the bump, buddy. And it's gonna be okay. Um, but I mean, freshman year at Zuma East, he got a
Yeah.
taste, right? He got a
Mm-hmm.
taste. A career 17-4 win-loss record. That's
Mm-hmm.
very impressive given the competition that East faces and given the competition that West faces. Career 3.14 ERA. I would love to only give up 3 runs a game. I would feel confident, especially those Jags or those Lions. They're going to score 4 most games. Um, we have to remember Brendan is a year younger than everybody in his class. Brendan
Yeah.
should be a junior in high school. And if we're talking about this kid as a junior and not a senior, the conversation is a little bit different. He's 17 years old still. He was 14 years old his freshman year of high school baseball,
Right.
playing varsity.
Right.
And you talk about someone who's not phased. Brendan
No.
Pyle's never phased.
No.
Brendan Pyle is tough. Brendan Pyle
Mm-hmm.
is going to compete until he can't compete any longer. And his freshman year offensively, it was
It was,
impressive.
yes, and
It
I
was,
was very happy to see that.
yeah. I mean, 14 years old, 9 doubles and a triple, right? 15 years old, his sophomore year, 12 singles, 12 doubles, 4 triples, 3 jacks. The powers are there. Last year at Zumwalt West, he got into a funk. And I think he started to realize I'm really good at this pitching thing. I might want to put more effort into this. I've always been a good hitter. I'm just going to go hit and see how it goes. I'm here to tell you he's making some swing changes right now. He's been hitting with our guy Tyler Michelle at Practice Factory.
Mm-hmm.
He's been hitting with Nadorf, getting 2 of the best hitting minds in the area. I watched him hit the other day. He's never looked more athletic. He's never looked more free, and he's never looked more confident. So yes, he's going to be very good on the mound this year. I think he's going to rake this. I think he's going to absolutely destroy baseballs, and I think he's going to remind everybody that Brendan Pyle is one of the best hitters in this area, and he was in a funk, and he knows it. So
Yeah.
you have one of the best 2 ways in the state in BP, and Johnson County is excited to put him on the left side of their infield. And they're also excited to put him on the mound. But when you talk to, um, Coach Horner over there and Coach Yeager, they recruited him to play third base and shortstop. Pitching is a plus. They
Yeah.
love the athleticism. They love the bat. They really like the left side defense. I can't tell you how much he's improved as a left side defender. When I got him at 15, I was going to stick him at first base. Um, my goodness, he played shortstop for us most of the summer because
His
Norman went down.
hands are fantastic.
They're so good, and
Yeah.
he's getting quicker. He's getting quicker. He's getting more laterally explosive. He is going to be a premier name in the junior college ranks next year. Hopefully on both sides of the ball, which would be really cool.
It's available. Join the YBM Club. Go watch this. It's a fantastic interview. Please, it helps what we do here at Youth Baseball Midwest. And I want to finish off this conversation because this is the GAC South between Francis Howell and Fort Zumwalt West. And these two teams have dominated the GAC South for quite some time. Last year, Zumwalt West got Howell. I think the last couple of years, Howell's had their, both been, I mean, that was the first state championship we went to was in 21 when Zumwalt West was there, lost in the championship game to Liberty. That was a knockdown, drag out. And, Zumwalt West, this is what we kind of started our whole repertoire, Youth Baseball Midwest. This is how we started was like, man, we got to go watch West and Howell because they are I mean, they're chippy, they're tough, they're grinded out baseball games, man. And neither one of these teams want to lose to the other at all. And I love what Nolan and Tanner says. Yeah, we're great friends, just not on game day.
Yeah, that's right.
It's true. It's going to be interesting. We'll talk a little bit about the GAC South here. I think Francis Howell is one of the top 2 teams in the state again this year. It'll be interesting to see how they come through that. Fort Zumwalt West graduated a lot. I think there's too many question marks in that team. I love Pyle and Sissom. Those guys are there. They're gonna compete. They're gonna have that team ready to play. I don't see them just being at the bottom. That's not gonna happen. But when you start looking at the GAC South, I think North Point they had a lot of kids playing last year. They lost Cowling, but I think North Point is that team within that this year that's going to maybe give Francis Howell a bit of. I wouldn't count Zumwalt West out, but North Point, they look really good in this. And I think those are the top 3 teams in the GAC South. Howell, North Point, and Zumwalt West. And that would be the order.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously the conference is almost identical to their district. That district is tough. And you saw last year, I mean, Howell had to burn Skidmore because Fort Zumwalt North was throwing Loman in round 1.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine being the 1 seed and having to throw your ace to beat the 8 seed. Liberty's got one of the more dynamic arms in the country in Ryan Dobratz. I mean, he might touch 100 this spring. You want to talk arm talent? Like that's arm talent right there. Headed to Ole Miss. Maybe you run into him game 1. They and Zumi West could have run into him game 1 last year, but they chose to throw Crittenden instead. There's no easy out.
I think Dobratz was still learning a little bit last year. He was good, but he was beatable last year. Might be a little different this year. That experience, right? So
if he strikes zone more consistently, that's one of the more special arms to ever come through our area. And it's funny, Liberty had Victor Quinn. Victor and Ryan very similar in that they have just elite fastballs, elite stuff, sprayed a little bit. If they can hone it in, if Ryan can hone it in, Liberty could have the best pitcher in Missouri. And
yeah,
good luck. If Ryan's 94, 97 this spring and has a 2 or 3 pitch mix and he's around the plate, there's not a high school lineup that's just going to handle that. You're going to have to find a way to navigate that. You're going to find a way to get him out of the game and bring in the next best guy who's not half as good as he is.
You want a lot of 3-2 counts, baby. And but like you said, if he's controlling the strike zone, you're going to have a hard time getting him out of a game. You just are. That's just as simple as it gets.
Absolutely.
The other team, and I'm not going to, I think is a team that's potential is there to be the team that could also knock off a Howell is Howell Central. We'll see where their pitching comes from, what they do that way. I think offensively, they're going to be fine. You've got guys, I think Drew Weiss was down a little bit last year with his bat. If Drew Weiss comes back and is at his game there, along with Cooper DeManuel, big pop in DeManuel's bat, with the Radke twins, Chase and Carter. I mean, you have the makings of a really deep lineup there at Howell Central.
Oh yeah, you want to talk speed and athleticism and size. Coop DeManuel is your guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lefty hitter headed to Quincy. He's a mid-6s, 60 runner. He flies down the line. He's got home run juice. He's gonna have a big senior year. I could definitely see that. Quincy loves their left-handed hitters, and I know they're thrilled to have him. Drew Weiss is going to Quincy as well. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, they're good friends too, so they're excited to head off together. Yeah, GAC South, it's fun baseball to watch. But that's why you brought me in, is to give the Suburban some love, because you guys know so much about the GAC South.
We're gonna get to the Suburban. We are definitely, because
Not today, not
I think the Suburban is, you know, I think they have more teams in the Suburban this year that could potentially win a state title than the GAC, as far as Class 6 is concerned. Even Class 5, probably, maybe. I just do. I think the Suburban, when you're talking about those teams, we'll get into some more of those. But I want to give, Liberty, um, North Point, uh, Coach Schmidt over there, they're not that old. That program is just now starting to, I think, find its way. And I think Coach Schmidt, developing that culture over there, he's the right guy. He's a Hal guy, bringing those thoughts over, that same mentality into that program. I think they could be pretty hard to beat this year.
Yeah, no, without question, they've got a talented roster. And it's not easy being that new of a school and being competitive right away at the Class
Yeah.
6 level, in those in the GAC. Um, yeah, I got Howell and Zumi West at the top. I think they're going to play each other 5 times, and they're going to play in the Troy tournament. They're going to play in the what's the other one? Oh man, the Midwest Classic. They're going to play twice in their conference, and I think they're going to meet again in the district championship. I just
Ooh,
think they're tough, man. I mean, yeah, cool. Sism Pyle, fantastic. Michael Wolf, one of the best juniors in the
I know.
state. He
I
might
love
hit
Michael
30
Wolf,
doubles. He might hit
but
30 doubles this year, Brian. He darn
that's
near had a
very
20
possible.
last
But
year.
I just don't. But those three, then it's a matter of question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. And
Keegan
not that
Fiala,
these
not
kids,
wait,
I
wait for wait, just wait. Keegan Fiala is going to turn heads this year. I
okay.
really like him. Very athletic, great hitter, can play over the field. And you've heard Coach Sism say it. Their pitching coach Frankie, he gets the most out of their arms every year. Oh man, Deaverman's
I,
gone. Who are they going to bring out? Who are they going to pitch? They're, they throw strikes. They get on the
it's
mound. They throw strikes and let the defense work. They're
it's
fun to
funny
watch.
because Coach System told me, he goes, man, every year it's like you always talk about question marks. I'm like, yeah, maybe I ought to quit that, but I can't. I can't help it. I'm just looking at these things, but I think there's question. But when you graduated the talent they did, and you're bringing in these
Yeah,
young guys, it may be late. It may be a late season run for them. It may
it
be
could.
because
It could.
we'll see where that goes to, but they've got to get those guys into the lineup, get them the at bats, because those guys that were there before took up a lot of innings, took up a lot of at bats, and you only have really three guys that have been in that place for them
Yeah.
on that level. So yeah, it is a question mark for Zumwalt West. I don't doubt the fact that they won't compete, or they may even end up being where you say. But as of right now, when you're looking at that, I think North Point has a little bit better edge right now. Do they have overall better top three players? No. I think, Sissom, you know what I think of these three guys. But you can't overlook Joe Gonzalez. Justin Neninger
I love
had
Joe
a
Gonzalez.
Joe Gonzalez is a dude, and he's a leader,
Yeah.
and had a great conversation with that young man. I'm interested to see how he pulls that team together. And Justin Neninger on the mound, I think, is found it. They're a little deeper this year, probably because, and they did lose Cowling, and that's a huge deal. But Neninger had more innings and was their dude last year through a lot of the season. Um, that
Clearly he's got it. I mean, Johnson County doesn't recruit bums, so yeah, Justin's going to be very good this spring. I know that for sure. He's been playing high level baseball forever. He's been the dude, along with Cowling at North Point. So obviously that's a good ace to have right
Yeah,
there, which you need an ace if you're going to compete in that conference. You
exactly.
without question need an ace. Yeah.
And we'll see what I know they play in the Central which is a little different, but I think Washington's going to be tough for them in the Central. I think East is going to be tough. They've got good hitters in their lineup. It's not a cakewalk through the East lineup still. But
No, not at all. East had some really good arms too. Some really good arms. Kevin Morgan.
Yep. Kevin Morgan, Pandolfo.
Awesome.
It'll be interesting to see how Coach Hill navigates that, because he probably not as deep pitching wise as North Point or Washington. Henry Vetter. Woo. Goodness mercy.
If Mierhoff's eligible, that's a big one to add to Washington there. I don't know if he's going to be, but if you got veteran Mierhoff as your 1-2 at Class 5 Washington, that's fun. That's fun right there.
Yeah, I think Washington could surprise some people in Class 5 this year. I think that is one to watch there. So, but the South, Liberty, you got arms. That district is not going to be easy to navigate no matter what, because you have so many top-level arms there. You can get beat. If you have a bad offensive game and you give up a run or two here, you might just be like, how'd that just happen? That's baseball.
Yeah.
Because winning is always tough, and I just think it's going to be a lot of fun. But so that's a quick look at those things there. We're getting along here. Dave Wiggins, folks. Dave, always fun. We're going to keep talking about these things, bringing these things. We didn't even get to some of the other kids, but we will get to them. And we will definitely be Craig Ringy, Eureka, Mercy, Loaded. One we'll be talking about here real soon. So I appreciate your time.
Oh, man, I have such a good time on these. It's fun being the host of Baseball 101. It's fun being a guest, and anytime I got an opportunity to talk about elite players in our area, especially ones I've had the pleasure of coaching, it's nothing better.
Absolutely. Folks, thanks for tuning in. If you like what we're doing, please subscribe. That helps the algorithm. Hit the like button. Also helps the algorithm. Keeps pushing this out. We hope you enjoy what we do here. Support us by joining the YBM Club. It's 50% off. Become a legacy member. Help us do what we're doing. We appreciate the support greatly. Have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, Dave, give it to them.
Throw strikes.
How many times have you heard that from the dugout? Exactly. And all you hitters, remember, it's easy. Hit them where they ain't. We'll see y'all next time.